Good day, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and here at DDO Players. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Draculetta.
Hey, everybody.
Well, today it looks like the usual news we have is that I hear that Boston is getting another blizzard.
Yes, they are. They closed phone support again today, as a matter of fact, because of it. So, Old Man Winter just wants to stick around for a little while, apparently.
Yeah, I have a feeling these blizzards are being sent by Blizzard.
Ooh, well played, Pineleaf. Well played.
Yeah. But the snow has not kept Severlin from posting several items on the forums, so let's begin with what these are. First of all, Severlin has a post on lag in the game, and what are they saying about lag this time?
Well, Severlin says the current lag we are chasing seems to be a problem with guild ships loading and unloading. It is intermittent, which means we can't reproduce the problem in-house yet. And we all know what the intermittent problems are like, so more power, more power to him for trying to fix that. He also goes on to say, but we see it happening on the live servers. If a player happens to be on the server process with the misbehaving guild ship instance, they can see server-side lag. And he wants you to know that they are working on it. That said, a majority of players won't see this when it happens, as it's limited to one specific instance. We are also working to reduce lag caused by some of the Wayloon dungeons that also seem to be problematic. And then he goes on to say, will that entirely stop the lag? My pessimistic side thinks it's unlikely. When we fix these issues, it is likely that other sources of lag will be revealed that are hidden/masked by these issues. This is an ongoing battle for a bit as we track down and eliminate various problems that can hurt server performance. We appreciate the players' patience while they work out these issues. So it sounds like they're hearing our cries of, wow, this game is getting pretty laggy, and they're actually trying to track down some of it and get it fixed.
They also seem to be tracking down some things with hireling AI. All engineering resources are tied up with chasing down these lag issues. Once we get some traction on that, then hireling AI is high on the list. One of the first changes we want to make is having hirelings who are set to stay in place have a really short leashing distance. That should allow hirelings set to stay on guard to fight in a small, tight area without running off into traps every time you get pinged with damage.
And I think I can speak for everyone when I say, can we get a round of applause and hallelujah for that?
Oh, yes.
So it sounds like once they get some of these lag issues worked out, they're going to take a look at the AI, the hirelings, and see if they can't make them a little more smarter than what they seem to be currently.
Right. Any more news about the Warlock?
Why, yes, there is. Somebody on the server, or on the forum, asked about if there's any updates on the Warlock, and Severlin said, before the Warlock, we discussed the possibility of the Knight class, which is from the Player's Handbook 2, with the Player's Council. We have had a good design and had good feedback on it, but then it was hard to justify the direct competition with the fighter and the paladin. One of our council members had a great idea of having the knight have a man/woman at arms, which we really liked. But looking back at the artificer, that work involved adding a scaling pet to a class, which was really expensive. And players could argue that until we work on the artificer pets, Pineleaf, I'm sure you have some things to say on that. Scaling well into epic, adding another class with a companion would just be hard to justify to players.
Yeah, I should note that the idea of the man, woman at arms following the knight sounds like a council member who must have also played Lotro, because there is a class in Lotro, a captain, who actually does go around with the flag bearer all the time.
Yeah, that would be very captain-like.
Yes.
I could see that. And also on the Warlock, Severlin says, Sonics is a whole new power source, and we couldn't do it justice to release a single class. Not only would it feel orphaned with no story support, but the normal Sonics shtick spell points is already used by our other casters. An orphan scion would function just like a sorcerer unless we took the time to add new mechanics and the infrastructure for the sonic power in source into the game. In order for us to add sonics, my feeling would be that we would need a whole update with at least Scion and Psychic Warrior. We'd also need to design the sonics itemization and the storylines for it to feel complete and rounded out. If we did, there would be a lot of players immediately wanting Soul Blade, which I never even thought about including the Soul Blades until he said that.
And then, of course, there is the retooling of the Mind Flayers to work with psionics instead of how they currently work.
Yep. So yeah, it's a big ball that keeps rolling downhill and it picks up problems along the way. So
yeah.
He basically rounded this out by saying, we picked Warlock specifically because its DPS comes largely from the Eldritch Blast rather than its spells. And right there, we have a different class from our casters. So that is how Turbine is justifying adding the Warlock. They're saying it's Eldritch Blast DPS and not a pure caster per se.
Right. Now, they do say that the Warlock is not for Update 25. It is going to be a regular class, not iconic. I think I would have been miffed if it were an iconic class because I think it sounds like a traditional starter class. And the systems designers can help look into lag, but ultimately our engineers are working on lag. That was talking about who's looking for the lag. It's the engineers who are mainly emphasizing that while the system designers are doing other stuff. Now, what about gnomes? When we do a new race at some point in the far unannounced future, which I am in no way committing to it with would-be gnomes, with cosmetic and tree options for deep gnomes, if we can do that, but mostly because I am a fan of Zithniblin, the deep gnomes, and would be using my position as producer to unfairly push for those options.
Okay, I'm going to go on the record here, and I think I said this when we had this discussion previously, but I don't get the gnome thing. I really don't. Why do people want gnomes so bad?
Because they're monsters! Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Well, Perkiosaurus in the chat is saying, gnomes represent. So apparently I'm the only one that doesn't want a gnome.
Okay. Well, yes, I don't think I'd mind playing a gnome.
Now, tiefling, we can talk. I'd be all over a tiefling, but they already said that's not going to happen. So my tiefling dreams have been dashed upon the rocks. So,
well, anything useful in Chronicle 128?
There was a few points of interest in the latest issue of the Chronicle. There is your DDO. We've talked about them before. They now have a Twitch channel, and they're starting to stream, and I've checked out a few of their streams. Pretty good stuff, so you can click on the link to find out their Twitch channel and give them a follow. Speaking of Twitch, DDO Cast is also now streaming on Twitch, and he is doing his first foray into the permadeath play. Lessa got him hooked on permadeath. So,
she has a habit of doing that.
I guess I shouldn't say hooked, but she's helping him along the way on permadeath, and this is the first time he's tried it. So,
okay.
So you can click over on the Chronicle and see that and watch Patrick from DDO Cast as he tries to stay alive.
Well, I wish him better luck on his first 2 attempts than I did on my first 2 attempts.
And Bonnie Boo, of course, has her recent highlights from the Shroud Palooza. That was on Wayfinder, which was the last Shroud Palooza. You can click over to watch that. And Jeff from DDO Gamer had a pretty interesting little post up. He reviews Update 24, but he does it in Haku style. So you really need to read this. It's pretty amazing that he kept this going for the whole review. So good on you, Jeff, for actually making that work.
I'm trying to look at this. Update 24 content review in haiku. That is...
It's pretty impressive that he kept it going for the whole review. So good on him for doing that. I don't think I could have actually kept it going for that long. Also, Ed Reek, who has written into the show, and he is our quote-unquote stalker that we have. He has a new post up where he's talking about the Manectrian Desert. And don't forget, the DDO Winter Games are continuing through the 15th of February. So you have a couple days left to enjoy the Rizia Ice Games and the Evening Star Midwinter Festival. So make sure you get in, do some ice skating, some ice jumping, and all of the fun, and hopefully get some good cookies or recipes from the festival before it ends.
All right. Very well, then. Then let's go on to the store sales. Anything nice on sale this week?
There is, let me scroll down so I can actually see it. Free sample of the week through the 12th is a Bell of Opening. You get one bell when you use coupon code OPEN15, OPEN 15, and that's one per account. So make sure you're using it on the correct character. For example, I probably wouldn't use that on a rogue because it would be kind of pointless.
So I should avoid putting it on my artificer then?
Yeah, I'd probably get it on something else if I were you. Just a suggestion. 20% off the select stat tomes, select skill and use magic device tomes, tomes of learning, and tomes of fate. Also in the store, but not on sale, they have added something new to the store. You can now get an extra plus 10 slot to your main shared bank, plus 250 slots to your bag deposit storage. And you can also increase your shared platinum storage capacity up to 5,005,000. So if
It's
you need
5,500,000 is what I see here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 5,500,000. I skipped the last couple zeros there. If you have that much platinum that you need to store, you need to tell me how you're making your platinum.
Oh, yeah.
That is all I'm saying. And that's pretty much it for the DDO store this week.
Very well, then we'll go into the site news where Draculetta and Bonnie Bew seem to be staring down an elder Jinn, and I got the impression that Bonnie Bew, being a monk, has decided to take a complete vow of poverty because she's still in those clothes you start off with on Korthos Island.
Well, you know, monks take their path in life and they just choose not to spend money on fancy clothes. I mean, what are you going to do? They just wear rags.
Apparently so.
If you have a screenshot you would like us to feature, you can send it to podcast@ddoplayers.com, podcast@ddoplayers.com, and we might picture your screenshot on the site for our screenshot of the week.
All right, very well. So now could you please tell me what is happening behind the screens?
I can tell you. Well, actually, I can't tell you. But if you go over to dndwizards.com, you can read the new article that they are starting over there. It was announced a little while back, and I kind of wondered where it was at. Well, today the first installment went up. And the quote on it is, "Welcome to the first installment of the Behind the Screens. This is going to be a regular column by Dungeon Masters for Dungeon Masters that presents helpful tips to use in your D&D campaign. Each month, our guest DMs will present an item from his or her toolkit that you can adopt to make running your game at home easier, more fun, or maybe both. Some of these DMs work in research and development, while others are fellow enthusiasts from the wider Wizards community who are eager to share what they have learned. Here you'll find some house rules, maybe some ideas for beginning or bringing a campaign, and lessons won from hard experience and more." So the first installment is written by Rodney Thompson. And if you're not familiar with that name, you should be, because he is a senior designer for D&D. He was the main designer for all of 5e. So I'm pretty sure people probably know his name. You probably just didn't realize what he did, but you've seen his name before. And his article is entitled DM's Cheat Sheet. And he brings up some very good points in this. I read this today, and actually there's quite a few of these that I do for myself. But the little blurb he gives for it before the article starts is, "Before every session I run in my ongoing D&D campaigns, I like to put together a little cheat sheet that helps me keep the session moving forward. While this cheat sheet outlines the main aspects of the adventure I'm running, the dungeon the players are exploring, the town council meeting they are breaking up, etc., and so on and so on. Its chief purpose is to help me maintain the pacing of the adventure. The cheat sheet has 4 main parts. I work on them in the following order during my prep time, though I arrange them in the reverse order on the final sheet." And if you want to read what his cheat sheet looks like for his adventures, you can click over on dndwizards.com and read the article. It is a really good read.
Now, I presume that in your article, the cat here is from your school of dungeon mastering.
I'm glad somebody got that. Yes, it is. And as a funny side note, the Grumpy Cat picture, if you don't know what we're talking about, you'll have to click over to this article on ddoplayers.com. We actually, at the convention I was at this weekend, Winter Fantasy, they were actually selling a shirt like this. And my two friends were with me who are also my players. And my one friend came over to me and he's like, I found the perfect shirt for you. This is so you. And basically what it says, if you haven't seen the shirt, it's got Grumpy Cat sitting behind it's called the GM screen there, but I'm sure they kind of did that for copyright reasons. And it says, rock falls, everyone dies. Good.
Yep.
And that's pretty much my line of DMing. My whole goal is to kill the whole party. So
now, did the GMs within DDO kill us during the last weekend DDO?
Well, they killed me one time. They about killed me twice, but thankfully my cleric hireling was actually working like it's supposed to, and he healed me. my rogue is a level 12 now. I was out doing more quest infernal. I'm really enjoying those quests for some reason. I'm not sure why, because there's nothing really too different about the area, but I really, really like it. So I ran the Flame Lord's Haven, the Giant Supplies, and I ran that one out hard. And I decided to get crazy and run the Giant's Lair on Elite. And the Giant's Lair is the one that I actually died on once. That's because I happened to pull two champions at once. And
two champions at once.
That's never a good time. So
yeah.
But other than the two champion things, I didn't have too much problem. So I'm still out there. And that is on if you've been out there, you know that it's split up into the western side and the eastern side. And the quest I'm doing are on the western side. So I still have stuff on the east to go over and do, which I will do at some point. And then also my Ranger Rogue, which is level 10. That's the one that I run with you on Wednesdays. And it just so happened that we did a little thing called Thernal as well. And I'll let you talk about that because we kind of ran into some problems more than what I did by myself.
Well, yeah, there might have been one or two little things that happened there. First off, we tried the Giant Lieutenant, where we actually managed to get through there, kill the lieutenants, complete it, and apparently there was a chest at the bottom, and you decided to go after the chest, and...
Well, being a rogue, I was like, oh, look, chest, shinies.
Yes, apparently it was a well-guarded chest. Even though the adventure was technically over, Drac was swamped with giants when he went down there in order to get this, and I, like a fool, decided, all right, I better go and help him. It was not a good idea, because then those giants, after killing Drac, decided to come after me.
Well, in our defense, though, we are, level 10? The two giants that were down there were CR 17s. So even if we could hit them, we weren't hitting them very much because they were just deflecting most of our blows. So I still love to know what's in that chest. I'd like to go back in there and just try to kill them just, to get revenge and to see what was in these shinies that I died for.
Well, you probably wouldn't be able to use it for another 7 levels if it was a CR17 Giants.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why the Giants down there by that chest are that high when... Because I think the highest CR the other ones we fought might have been maybe 13, maybe?
Yeah.
I think a couple of them were 13, but yeah, that was... And really, the only reason why I actually was down by the chest is one of the giants knocked me back, and I fell down to the next level. And then I seen the chest, and I'm like, well, I'm almost down there. I might as well just jump down there and get that chest. Well, yeah, I didn't. I didn't see the two CR17 giants that were guarding said treasure chest.
Ah. We also did the Library of Thernal at hard. Then we escort the expedition on normal, which, according to my note here, was narrated by Dave Arneson. And then we had Hold for Reinforcements, which was a direct sequel. So the 3 Thernal quests, we did one after the other.
And yeah, and that was the complete opposite of my rogue. Those are on the eastern side. So now we have to go and do the western side.
Ah, all right.
Funny how that works out, isn't it?
Amazing. That means we're going to have to go into the Giant's Lair at some point.
Yeah, we will. Maybe we won't do it on Elite, though.
Right. All right. On my Bard on Permadeath, I finished up Korthos Island with the Storehouse of Secret, Caneth Crystal, and Collaborator. And then I went over into Korthos Island and did all the quests there, finishing up with Misery's Peak. And no, I did not take the challenge to lose at Misery's Peak. I went in there to win, completed that, and I should be able to, on my next session, get ready to start with the Harbor quests. And that completes what I did. So therefore, let's go into donations. Well, at least I would go into if we had any donations. But if you would like to donate, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you will find rewards, including a mention on DDO Players News, or even be able to guest host with us. We do not have any iTunes reviews, but we have plenty of featured comments. And the first one is from Simple. And what does Simple say?
He left a comment on our episode number 17. He says, PDK, the Purple Dragon Knight, are human, not dwarves. They are fighters, at least by design at level 1. You can always, and some people do, use a +1 heart to swap out of it and into something else. It's slightly misleading as visually they kind of have the half-orc shaped body. But part of their build glory is using a PDK is the ability to use charisma as your attack/damage modifier instead of strength. One of the interesting builds I have seen highlighting this aspect is a 9-monk, 8-fighter, 3-paladin, able to wield the greatsword as a key weapon. Also, you should check out the size of the PDK in Druid wolf form. It's impressive to say the least. This is just a spur-of-the-moment thing, but I can imagine a PDK fighter/source hybrid would do quite well as well. Charisma being suddenly a common stat of great importance. At any rate, don't let a bad experience keep you from some pretty neat builds, especially as the iconic characters all really do have some neat quirks that really set them apart from the other races.
If you say so.
You're still not convinced on the Purple Dragon Knight, are you?
Not at the moment. Maybe I'll look into it another time. Right now, I think I'll stick to what I've got. Bonnie Bew left us a comment on episode 18, Nothing Beats Bacon. Trying to do the Binder Rescue without disarming traps is stacking the deck against a poor barbarian, but kudos for trying. So my question then is, how does one do it if you are in there alone and you're soloing the Binder Rescue and you don't have any ability to disarm traps?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, if you're not a rogue or an artificer, I'm not sure, unless there's a way to disarm that trap by a switcher panel or something.
Yeah, but those switcher panels are in the rooms that they're guarding. And by the time I get to those, the NPC is already dead.
Perkiosaurus in the chat is saying, inside each room you can turn the level to disarm the traps, and Bonnie Bew just happens to be in the chat as well. And she says, you just have to get lucky.
You mean that they don't die before you...
Yeah, so apparently...
turn it off.
But yeah, Perkiosaurus
yeah, I was turning them off.
He's saying turning the switch. He's saying you can disarm the trap. So
yes, but as I said, every time I do it, by the time I disarm the trap, the NPC's already dead.
You just do it the pine leaf way. That's all it is.
Yeah, but at least that's what happened with the barbarian. As I said, I think my druid actually managed to do it without getting the NPC killed. So we'll have to see. Now, Simple left us another comment on Nothing Beats Bacon. What did he say there?
This reply comes with a disclaimer. I am biased and will be making no attempt at neutrality. So with that says, I play on Thelanis as my home server, and have been playing since just before level cap went to 12 from level 10. I was here for the first anniversary celebration, and I have seen changes and revisions and have weathered all of it, and I'm still enjoying the game. I often hear people complain about low server volumes. I do not believe this to be the case in most instances. Much like the frequent complaint of lag, sometimes it's real, and most of the time it's client-side issues as to one kind or another. Example, hardware, terminate and stay resident programs, low RAM, etc., etc. I will offer 3 points in defense of my belief. I know a lot of people that prefer to play /anonymous. I have even within the last week seen 3 different public channel questions asking about how to enter this status and whether or not they had to manually enter it upon login every time or not. This means that when searching for players on the social panel, they will be excluded, giving the impression of fewer people on the server. Even amongst the people who don't play anonymously, there are people like me who party when I need to, but prefer to solo 9 times out of 10. Secondly, with the increasing push towards guilds and the advisable use of the friends list, many people open parties first to guildies, second to friends, and finally to pugs, assuming they haven't filled up. This is not true of everyone, but the fact that it is relatively a common practice means that the LFM panel is less populated than it potentially used to be. And third and finally, with the advent of Kenneth Crafting and free-to-play, the auction house is nowhere near what it used to be. I used to post every single piece of loot I pulled for 50 to 100% of its value as a buyout, and that's how I made my plat reserve. These days, all my stuff goes into the crafting hopper unless it's something particularly good, and then I'm more likely to pass it on to the bank instead of auction house. On a side note, there's a considerable lack of what I would call, quote, quality, unquote, random gen heroic gear these days, anyways, due to the state of the game and its loot modifiers. But that's a whole nother can of worms. And since, quote, basic, unquote, free-to-play, not premium, only gets to post 1 item to the auction house at a time, well, whatever percentage of the population that happens to be probably isn't posting much up there either. So in conclusion, there isn't a really good way to determine what the server population truly is. The social panel just isn't accurate. The auction house variety isn't a solid tell, and anecdotal perception is skewed 100% of the time. The best advice I can give regarding dealing with the problem is to become a friendly and reliable player. You don't have to be great, don't be a liability. Then start cultivating people on your friends list that you enjoy playing with so that you can see when they are on and possibly join a guild that has plenty of people in it that you can play with. When you have a pool of people you can play with and you aren't being avoided by them, then server pop is mostly irrelevant anyways. You can only group with 6 to 12 people at a time.
Ooh, right then? That's quite a mouthful.
Yes, it was. But and I thank him for commenting on that, because that was, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, we had I can't remember if it was an email or a comment on one of our posts talking about how you pick a server and the server population. So he kind of was answering that other question as well as what we did last week. So thanks for writing in.
All right. We also have an email from Brian who says, "Hello, Pineleaf and Draculeta. I play Kirkos on Orion server. I'm not sure which episode I was listening to, but I'm hitting the recent ones and catching up on the first 10 or so, and I didn't get live. But I was about to yell at the radio when you said you were going to buy the favored soul class. There are quite a few things that you can buy with turbine points or earn with favor. Drow race and favored soul class being the easier of rewards that are earnable with favor. The DDO wiki has a page devoted to favor that you can see the different tiers and possible total favor earnable for each patron and for the total world favor, so you can decide for yourself if the favor grinding or spending TPs is the way to go. Keep up the good work with the cast. I've been at this for a few years, and I'm still learning nifty things on top of Turbine continuing to change the rules." Brian. Now, I have been known to look at that page, and I decided to recheck after reading this letter. And according to that, Favored Soul requires a total of 2,500 favor. And I can tell you right now, there is no way in the world one of my characters is going to get near 2,500 favor in the near future. In fact, I think that reaching 400 to unlock the Drow is something that has, I would say I might make it by the end of the month. But that's where I'm about at right now, is just reaching the 400 threshold. and I've got plenty of turbine points. So I think my situation is turbine points is probably the much better way to go, since I'm going to have lots of turbine points, and the favor, with what I've been playing lately, I'm not going to get to 2,500 anytime soon.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this before the show, and I think we're kind of the opposite of a lot of DDO players. This is not our main game we play. We actually play several other games too. So, I mean, I'm spreading myself out between 4 different MMOs. So,
4?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like to try to play them all evenly, and I don't try to play one more than the other. But when this is not your main game, I mean, Faber is a grind to get. I mean, if all you're doing is playing DDO, I would say you can get Faber pretty easy. And I'm sure we're going to get comments on this, so I can't wait to read what some of the people say about that.
Oh.
I just said. But
you'll have leveled. Yes, if you've got level 20 characters who've been reincarnated 5 times.
Right. See, and exactly. And like my highest character that I have that I've actually leveled and not, I'm not counting my iconic in this, is level 12. And I think I'm setting at, I want to say I just hit 500 favor on her the other day. So maybe I'm doing the favor game wrong. I don't know. I just think it's really hard to get favor.
Well, they're going to say we're doing it wrong because we're not running everything elite.
We'll have to see next week, because I'm sure we're going to get comments on this. So, but thanks, Brian, for writing in, though.
Now, if you'd like to be like Brian and send us an email, you could email us at podcast@ddoplayers.com. You could also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @Players Ally, DDO Players @DDO Players, Draculetta @Draculetta_72, and Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles. The Players Alliance has 3 shows every week. On Mondays at 8:30 p.m. United States Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. On Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. United States Eastern Time, we have Guild Wars Players News. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. United States Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News. You can join us for our live shows at http://ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to loot those treasure chests.